See you, nice girl.
We're backing up on fries.
Got him right here, Mr. B.
You forget this is a dinner rush time?
Got a chance.
What was that?
I said, as soon as we get these fries done, I'm going to collect all the discards and then pull some more shake mix out of the freezer so none of our happy customers starve to death.
And who's that union pin?
Boss says I got a right to wear it.
Well, in here, I'm the law. It bothers the customers. Anybody from headquarters sees that, they'll shut us down. Oh, anyway, a birthday party. We can do that, man. Yes, give me 9 minutes.
It's you, Tonya.
No problem, Murph. Just keep it to yourself.
So we're keeping the shake mix in the alley now. You're out feeding that bum our discards again, weren't you?
So what if I was? I'm only going to throw them out anyway.
I told you, no hands out. Company policy is discards going to trash.
It's a dumb policy.
Nobody's asking. And get rid of that button.
I have a right to wear this.
That's it. You're fired. Anybody else have a problem with that? See downstairs.
There's 2 trains I can't travel. 2 trains leaving today. One gonna take me home. One carry me away. One carry me away.
How did you get my name, Miss Maddox?
It's Tanya, with an O.
Tonya.
I read in the paper how you guys kicked butt on that big drug company, Hexler Dalton. So I figured suing Speedway would be a piece of cake for you.
Lawsuits are expensive, and there's no guarantee that we'll win. Alex, please stick around. Alex DeMonico, this is Ms. Tanya Maddox.
Hey.
Tanya was recently fired from her job at Speedway Burger for trying to form a union.
I want to nail them like you did with that big drug company.
Oh, that was different. That was a class action suit.
He's saying I ain't got class?
No, it's... class action is another way of saying there's more than one plaintiff.
Well, there would be a lot more people, but they're scared of losing their jobs.
I'm not sure we take this on contingency, Tanya. Are your parents prepared to cover our fees?
Parents? I've been on my own a long time. Since I was 6, really. My mom dumped me in some foster home. So I can take care of myself. Mr. Bryant, the manager, he's always on my case for trying to talk up the union. And then he ordered me to take off this button. What about free speech? What about the Constitution? Is that how the Pilgrims got started? I think we should be suing for obstructing justice, obstructing a union, and obstructing my mental health.
Now, there's a legal precedent whose time has come.
Now you're talking.
Miss Medic, be straight with me. Did you give him any other cause to fire you?
He's always ragging on me for something, but their rules are stupid. Take discards, for example. Why should we throw those burgers in the trash when there's homeless guys like Murph living in the alley?
Have you ever been late or rude to customers?
Well, when people get hungry, they can get kind of cranky on you. And I'm not crazy about the breakfast shift.
Have you ever received a warning from Mr. Bryant concerning your performance?
Maybe 1 or 2 or 3.
What is it you're hoping to gain by suing Speedway?
Money, duh. When was the last time any of you people worked for minimum wage? I bet you never have. Well, let me tell you, a person can't live off it.
Well, perhaps this Mr. Bryant did overstep his bounds a little, but I doubt that a lawsuit is necessary in this case. Perhaps he could be persuaded to reconsider your dismissal.
That's what you think. You're the big kahuna. Let's go.
Oh, believe me, I'd love to go, but the big kahuna has a deposition in 10 minutes. Mr. Heller, you brought Miss Medic into the firm, so it only seems fitting that you should follow it through.
Yeah, Heller, why don't you run over in your Porsche and fight for justice?
You have a Porsche?
I canned her because she's a loudmouth pain in the butt. And pushy, too. I got you, Dre, Mr. Bryant. But I doubt that a judge would see that as sufficient grounds for dismissing her. This girl doesn't care about it. You know what she cares about is herself. I'm sure you're aware that employees have the right to possess union material on company premises. So what do you say? I didn't take it back? Well, if you don't, she might have grounds for wrongful dismissal. That's why she came to us. So what's rightful dismissal? Not showing up for work, abusing coworkers, stealing, that kind of thing. Well, she's certainly not worth a lawsuit, is she? So I've done some research on Speedway. They have quite a record of stamping out union activity in their outlets. Layoffs, store closings. It's a real scorched earth policy.
Not the only kind has actually struck a soft spot in you, or maybe you just can't resist blatant fawning.
It's not my type. You can take a lesson or two in fawning.
Welcome to Speedway. How may I serve you?
2 jumbo Vaselines, a couple of freeway fries.
Would you like beverage with your order?
Did I ask for a beverage?
That'll be $6.90 at the window.
Sure.
Hey, look who's here.
And yourself, because Heller's little visit paid off.
Yeah, but Brian put me on double shifts hoping I'd quit. But I'll show him.
Do you have a break so we could talk?
Yeah, I got one coming up. But you're gonna have to order something or he'll be on my butt.
Come on, let's go.
Hi. 2 jumbo Vaselines.
What's your problem? Speaking on enough for you? You don't like it, then you should put some on. Busy doing your new.
Hey, Bozo, you got change coming. Quit fighting with your wife, you know that. Welcome to Speedway. How may I serve you? Wow. So they've never had a union. Well, they're gonna get one now.
After what happened, you'd better watch your step.
They should watch their step.
Tanya, let me give you a heads up. They're gunning for you. Don't be your own worst enemy.
So that Heller guy's kind of cute.
If that's your type.
So you guys got a thing going on?
I have more important things in my life right now than being with a guy.
Sounds like somebody hasn't gotten any in a while. I guess that leaves the road open for me. I'm kind of ready for an upscale guy.
One Porsche doesn't Mr. Right make.
I'd like to find that out for myself. How you doing, Murph?
Maybe for seeing your face. You're a good girl.
Don't spread it around.
What are you doing there?
What you marking up those meat boxes like that for?
Have you learned your lesson? Mind your own business, get back to work.
I go back to bed. I'll handle this.
You been drinking?
No.
You on anything?
Oh, come on.
Your problem's working too hard. Nothing in parole regulation says you have to have 2 jobs.
Well, it's not a real job until they pay you.
You're still working on this fee for writing your part in the government? Justice doesn't come cheap, does it?
Don't remind me, I'm sick enough already.
All right, come on. I'll make you some tea.
Okay.
The homeless guy you always feeding kicked last night.
You mean her?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Merv seemed fine yesterday.
Scared me half to death when I saw him lying there by that dumpster.
Poor Merv.
You know you're not supposed to be eating on the job. Farm will fire you again.
Hold on for me. Gotta hit the little girl's room. What are you doing?
Is this your locker, miss?
Yeah, and you can't open it without my say-so.
They have my say-so. There's 1,500 missing from the noon count.
Fine, do what you want. I didn't take nothing.
You feeling better?
Well, I'm managing to stay upright, but I can't swear that the party's over yet.
You better stop by ER and get yourself checked in.
For what?
E. coli. I heard on the radio 3 hospitals have reported cases.
It's Wednesday. It's squash with Gibson. Mark, I heard that you'd moved to New York. I'm here on business. I'm senior corporate counsel for Speedway.
Well, I haven't heard that. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
We've got business wits here. A client committed felony robbery.
Tanya Medak,
Firm must have fallen on hard times since I walked out.
if I remember correctly, that must be your call.
Speedway is willing to drop the charges against her, provided she can sign a written statement admitting to her guilt and agrees to forego any further claims against the company. Failing that, I can assure you we will prosecute her to the fullest extent of the law.
I think Speedway must have fallen on hard times to assign their senior corporate counsel to such small potatoes.
You have 24 hours to give me your answer.
They set her up. What would make them think of that stunt?
Me. When I spoke to her boss, I gave him a list of valid causes.
As a rule, we try not to give legal advice to the opposition, Patrick.
What made Speedway assign their top lawyer to track you down on the street?
Mark Demarest knows exactly where I am.
What Demarest?
Oh, Peggy, would you take these interrogatories into Mr. Morgan? Thank you very much.
Speedway has always managed to block the unions without using these kinds of tactics. Why is this time different?
Maybe I should get in there and have a look around.
Oh, you mean like actually go and work for a living?
I happen to know that there's an opening. Pays more than this place. Okay, Peggy wants a scoop.
Huh? Who's this guy? Demarest.
No, I really shouldn't say anything.
Oh, you will if you want to get out of this room alive.
Careful, Peggy. She's been in prison.
Okay. He was an associate here a few years ago. In fact, just before you came.
You work for Mr. Whitney?
Like me?
Everyone thought he was brilliant.
Like me?
Why did you leave?
There was a case Demarest was handling, and there were a few irregularities. Mr. Whitney fired him.
Not like me. Anything wrong?
Well, I was just wondering if you heard how Alex is doing at Speedway.
Alex tends to take pretty good care of herself.
You like her, don't you?
Alex. The only thing on her mind right about now is finding your daughter.
She's a kid?
6 years old. Her ex kind of took off about 5 years ago.
Man, that's cold. When I was a little kid, I used to dream that there was somebody out there looking for me. But I guess I woke up from that one soon enough, huh?
Listen, I was just about to go across the street, get a sandwich.
Great. I'm kind of hungry myself. Potato salad? Potato chips?
I don't know, Tanya. It's kind of a lot of potato products.
Okay. Well, it's fruit then. It's like a picnic.
Well, it's definitely not a power lunch at the top of the mark.
That would cost more than my whole month's salary.
Tanya, have you thought about just trying to get another job?
Well, I didn't actually finish high school. And the last foster home I was in, well, it wasn't exactly the greatest place for studying. I've been meaning to go back to get my GRE, but after working all day, I was always too tired. It's a vicious circle. What do you call those things?
Catch-22.
Yeah, right. So, you ever been married?
No.
Don't you think a guy your age, got your career going and all, should be thinking about finding a nice girl to take care of you?
I haven't really thought about it.
Maybe love is just like one of those fairy tales. Something that sounds good, but never happens in the real world. Cookie?
If it's Friday, it must be port and a cigar at the club. My client won't be signing your statement. We believe she's innocent. And I think we can resolve this reasonably.
You always choked when it was time to go to court.
Actually, I always felt that a trial was the last resort. And that the desire to win often made lawyers forget their ethics.
You won, didn't we?
Coaching a witness to lie on the stand isn't winning, it's grounds for disbarment.
Oh, then why didn't you report me?
I was hoping that your dismissal from the firm would cause you to reconsider your actions. You're an excellent lawyer, Mark. You didn't have to cheat to win.
I guess I'll see you in court. For a change.
Whatever your reasons for pursuing this, be careful that you don't do more harm to yourself and Speedway than you could ever inflict on Tanya Medak.
Is that a threat, Whit?
It's advice. You haven't taken it before. I suggest you take it now.
is losing a good job and it's just paying minimum wage. So what's the big deal, right?
That's not what I meant.
What if this is the best job that she could get? You don't know what it's like for people like her. She didn't go to Harvard.
Okay, let's go.
Where are we going?
Research.
Does this have something to do with Speedway?
Nope.
Hey, Otis, you're too old to be working that hard. Peaches! Hey, guys, look who's here. Peaches, how you doing, man? You look good. I haven't seen you in a while.
Hey, Otis. It's just because I haven't had a new car to show off for a while. Otis, I want you to meet Alex tomorrow.
Nice to meet you.
Did you just call them Peaches?
Yeah, because after working and sweating like dogs, sometimes for a week out on a loading zone, this guy didn't even have to shave. And it looks like you still don't. Smooth.
Otis let me work for him one summer to pay my room and board at Princeton.
Only reason I didn't fire Peaches here is because we had a pool going as to when he was going to quit. I mean, why would Mr. College boy want to work for minimum wage, right?
I guess minimum wage, $2 an hour. I can barely remember.
Yeah, right. Probably the last honor scholar you've ever made.
I thought your father was wealthy.
My father had plenty of money, and he took it with him when he left my mother.
He didn't support you?
Minimally. But he had a better lawyer than she did. And then, when I got into Princeton, he suddenly showed up with a checkbook.
Put you sat through college. Now I get it.
The next time you do research, Mr. Monaco, just be more thorough.
The driver you guys saw last night was Dwayne. I can get him to tell us anything.
Are you sure he's going to be here?
If it's lunchtime, he's here.
Can you get him to confirm that they recalled the marked boxes because the meat was contaminated with E. coli?
Leave it to me. I know how to sweet talk Dwayne. We dated for a while after his wife split, but he wasn't really my type. I need someone more intellectual.
Okay, well, why don't you go inside by yourself and just check that he's willing to talk to us.
10-4.
She has a major crush on you.
Hey,
Come on, Alex, she's just a kid.
The tough act, it's just a cover. Protect your feelings. She's scared of being hurt.
Sounds like someone else I know. Only she won't give me the time of day.
Uh-oh.
So much for sweet talk. Sorry you lost your job. I'll see what I can do about it.
stop acting like you know nothing and tell me why you were hauling away meat patties last night.
Because they told me to. That's my job. I do what I'm told. Unlike some people around here.
That's Dwayne for you. Mr. Headless and don't ask questions.
Okay, why don't we all just take a deep breath?
It's always about what Tanya wants. She don't care how somebody else might get hurt. It's just me.
Okay, ding, ding, ding. Back to your corners.
Who are you?
He's the guy I told you about, the one with the Porsche.
Dwayne, this is not just about Tanya's job. We're afraid that Speedway is trying to cover up a very serious health problem.
I'm just a truck driver. I mind my own business. Understand?
Well, that business might be making people sick.
Well, if it's anything like the last time, I don't want no part of it. Well, Dwayne, last time.
Come on, Dwayne.
3 years ago, before Miss Tanya started working there, some bacteria or something got loose in the processing plant. Had to shut the place down, sterilize everything, replace the machines. I was out of work for 6 months.
It must have been very hard.
You don't know the half of it. Got 2 young kids at home to support their mom. Company took off. Last thing I need right now is to be out of work. Do yourself a favor, Tanya. Find another job. Forget this ever happened.
Guess that didn't go so good, huh?
No, actually, it did.
thing happened on the way to the men's room. I got served. Speedway is suing us for $500 million for slander.
Okay, I just got a call from my guy at the ME's office. He said that an autopsy confirmed that homeless guy Murphy died of kidney failure from E. coli.
E. coli 0157. It's usually found in ground beef that hasn't cooked enough.
That's what made me so sick right after I ate at Speedway.
You were lucky. People with weak immune systems like Murphy and young kids can die from it.
Is there any way of connecting that to Speedway?
The CDC will run a DNA test on the strain that killed Murphy. Later, they can compare it with any suspected source of contamination.
And we know that they're sneaking around recalling stuff because I saw them loading it onto a truck. Somehow Speedway is distributed contaminated meat, and now they're just trying to cover their tracks.
There were 11 confirmed cases of E. coli as of this morning.
Totally circumstantial. Mark Demarest will tear that to pieces. He's an extraordinary litigator.
Sir, I understand if you need somebody who's a more senior partner to be your second chair on this.
I think I'm in good hands, don't you? Yes, Mr. Burdick and Mr. Morgan. I'll be right there. There's no way to prove we didn't leak this. Our best strategy is to show that the E. coli comes from Speedway, because if it's the truth, it isn't slander.
Okay. We know that they shut down the packing plant for something like this 3 years ago.
There's no way to prove it was because of E. coli.
Why not?
Well, federal regulations only compel them to report finding E. coli if it's found in packaged meat. If they find it before it's packaged or on the machines, they're not obligated to tell anyone.
That's insane.
And get this, even if the USDA knows a plant's meat is infected, they don't have the authority to order a recall. They can only recommend it.
We need to get into that plant before they clean it up again.
Do you really think Mark Demarest would go to these lengths just to get revenge?
A lawsuit was in my hands before the ink was dry on the newspaper.
Why would any food company in their right mind risk alarming the public about the safety of the product?
To shift the blame. Let's say Speedway knows that they've got an E. coli problem. What better form of spin control than to claim it's a smear campaign by a disgruntled employee like Tanya? They can even blame her for the contamination. And while we're busy defending ourselves, they get rid of all the evidence.
While we're on the subject, we're a little concerned about this arrangement you have with Ms. DeMonaco.
So am I. In fact, I've been meaning to talk to you about it. I think it's time we put her on the payroll.
What's his name?
Mark Demarest, senior corporate counsel. He's got a grudge against Mr. Whitney.
Okay. It was in this morning's Examiner.
Yeah, and if you can find any connection between Demarest and the reporter, any emails, phone calls, anything.
It's my deadline.
Yes, okay.
They'll break for lunch in a minute. That's your best chance to win it. Here, for this. Wayne left it at my place. It's a smelly old thing. Heller looks so dreamy in his suit. I never went with a guy who carried a briefcase. He likes me.
I'm not saying that Heller is a bad guy, but he might not be Prince Charming.
He could be. Anyway, it's my life.
Well, you paid for your mistakes for a long time. Mine is still costing me.
You mean your daughter?
I mean, 5 years in prison.
You were in prison?
Yeah, the briefcase that I fell for framed me for insurance fraud. Tanya, you can't sit back and wait for Prince Charming to save you. We have to save ourselves.
What's the same garbage Dwayne used to give me?
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Speedway versus Burdick, Whitney, and Morgan. I read the preliminary, so let's just get to it, gentlemen. Mr. Demarest, call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call Mr. Hamilton Whitney to the stand.
What? It's all right.
Yes.
what you're saying is that someone at your office got a stomachache, which they attribute to having eaten at a speedway, although that can't be confirmed. And then a homeless man died of E. coli, supposedly, again from eating at a speedway. And then your client, who was arrested for stealing, claims she saw boxes of meat being moved around in a freezer. Is this what formed the basis of your theory that Speedway was responsible for this outbreak of E. coli?
For the most part, yes.
And on the basis of these unsubstantiated assumptions, you said to me later, take care you don't end up causing far more harm to Speedway than you could ever inflict on my client.
That's out of context.
Did you say it, sir? Yes or no?
Yes.
From which we can conclude that harming Speedway was your strategy all along, was it not?
Objection, argumentative.
Alexander DeMonico, what are you doing sneaking around here?
Oh, I came to visit my friend, Phil.
Phil who?
Well, I actually don't know his last name. He just told me that he worked here, and it was a really cool place to work. Maybe he was just feeding me a line, maybe. Because, I called the number that he gave me, and he never called me back. I'm just so sorry. I know he's doing this to me.
Okay, don't go to pieces, don't go to...
And now you guys are harassing me. Sorry.
Hey, no one's harassing you, lady. You were trespassing.
Mr. Democrat, there you go.
Okay. Mr. Whitney, do you have an Alexander DeMonico working for your firm?
Yes, I do.
And when you hired her, were you aware she was convicted of fraud, served 5 years in a prison?
Objection, relevance,
The
Your Honor.
relevance of this, Your Honor, if I may be given some leeway, will be obvious in a moment.
Overruled.
Yes, I was.
And even as you sit here, proclaiming your innocence, Mr. Whitney, did you know that Miss DeMonico was just caught trespassing at a Speedway processing facility? Why was she there? Was she attempting to plant evidence to incriminate my company?
Put us in a very bad position, Mr. Monaco. What were you thinking?
I wanted to get a sample of the contaminated meat before they destroyed it.
Well, you've destroyed our case. I'm going to have to go to Mark Demarest and sell it.
And let them get away with endangering people's lives. Not to mention killing at least one person just to protect their profits.
If I thought for one moment that I had half a chance of proving that in court, I would never consider selling. But I'm not going to risk destroying this firm.
So you mean it's just a business decision?
I mean that as the big kahuna, I have to make decisions for the greatest good.
Now remember, you can smile at your teachers.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hey. What are you doing here?
Last count, there were 9 children in the hospital fighting for their lives. One old man who's dead because of the E. coli outbreak.
What do you want from me?
I brought some lunch for your kids. Some burgers from Speedway. Think about it.
Mark, I'd appreciate a moment of your time before we go in. I'd like to find a way to settle this,
Spoil all the fun I'm having? Why would I want to do that?
because we both know it's not right.
Okay. $2 million in damages.
I realize how hard it was for you, Mark, and I want you to know that it was also very hard for me to let you go.
Oh, and Burdick, Whitney, and Morgan disbands the legal enterprise.
But be careful. Don't let your desire to get back at me push you to make a wrong decision for your client.
Always the teacher, Whit. You may not have noticed, but I'm doing just fine without you.
Hey. I tracked an email from your pal Demarest, the reporter.
Thank you.
Yeah, except, for the small matter of the Fourth Amendment.
Illegal search.
Yeah, you can't use it in court. Unless you don't mind seeing me go to jail.
Tell me, Miss Medic, who'd you first meet with at Burdick, Whitney, and Morgan?
Patrick.
Oh, you mean Mr. Heller? And who was it who told you to go down there to Speedway Processing and have a look around?
Alex. I mean, Miss DeMonico.
But it was Mr. Heller who first interceded on your behalf, is that right?
If you mean did he help me, yeah, he did.
Mr. Heller works directly under Mr. Whitney. It's reasonable to assume that Mr. Whitney would be aware of yours and Mr. Monaco's plan you concocted to defame Speedway, is it not?
We didn't concoct nothing. You guys set me up for stealing, and we were just trying to find out how come.
Unresponsive, Your Honor.
Please just answer the question, yes or no, Miss Meadow.
How can I do that when I can't even tell what he's asking me half the time?
Okay, I'll try and simplify the question for her, Your Honor. After what happened to you at Speedway, you and Ms. DeMonico wanted to get back at them, isn't that right?
Of course. They were lying.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Dwayne, you got this playground outside Speedway, you know? My kids, they love to play on the monkey bars. I don't want them to think their old man was some dumb truck driver who didn't know any better. Stuff I picked up in the plant manager's office. I was supposed to go all the way to headquarters with it. Guess kind of fell off the truck.
Miss Medic, did you discuss what you observed at Speedway with anyone?
The only people I ever talked to about this was you guys in the plane, I guess.
Please pardon the intrusion, Your Honor. We'd like a moment.
Mr. Demarest,
Defense can take all the time they like, Your Honor. We're not going anywhere.
you may step down, Miss Medic.
The defense calls Mr. Mark Demarest to the stand.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't know what kind of game the defense is trying to play.
Open the door when you're asked defense counsel to testify, Mr. Demarest. Turnabout is fair play. Please take the stand, sir.
Mr. Demarest, would you please take a look at this document? Tell the court what it is.
It's a confidential memo.
Yes. In fact, a memo from you to Mr. Calvin Bates, the manager of Speedway's meat processing company, with your signature at the bottom, is it not?
It is?
Would you please read it for the court?
Stop all testing of packaged meat products for E. coli immediately.
Now, why would you instruct your plant manager to stop testing the packaged meat for a possibly lethal infection?
It was a procedural decision made to streamline the plant.
I see. And not because you knew that if E. coli was found in the packaged meat, you'd be obligated by the law to report it?
Already answered the question.
All right. Then would you please read the second paragraph in this memo? Also under your signature.
Your Honor, I'd like to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights
That's
here.
all right. I'll read it. Calvin, we can't afford another fiasco like 3 years ago. Stop testing all meat immediately. Shred all previous test results that are positive for E. coli contamination found in the plant.
I'd like to invoke my Fifth
Your Honor,
Amendment.
I consent that Mr. Demarest and his client Speedway acted in flagrant disregard of the law and public safety, and I'd like to ask for an immediate dismissal.
Motion granted. This case is dismissed.
I would also like to ask that the court forward these documents to the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Department of Health.
Agreed, Mr. Whitney. And you, sir, had better find yourself one hell of a lawyer.
point, and we found a new supplier for our meat. But we still need a union. We have our first vote on it next week. It's looking good. Listen, about Heller, as much as I know we had chemistry and all, I started seeing Dwayne again. I'm pretty proud of what he did. Maybe you and Heller could have gotten. Just try and let him down easy when you tell him that I'm out of the picture, okay?
I'll do my best.
Who said fairy tales don't come true?